If you read a lot of thrillers like myself, you probably have come to know and love the usual outline of this genre and find yourself guessing twists before they happen. I read 22 thriller books by 7 different authors in 2024, and I have a few that really stood out to me and kept me guessing throughout. I'm Taylor, and if you love a good popcorn thriller, then this is the list for you. As I was putting together this list, I realized that I only read thriller books from 7 different authors, and I can't help myself. When I read one book by someone that I love, I have to read their whole catalog, so I'm trying to mix it up in 2025. My top 10 is dominated by 4 authors. Sorry, okay? They're really good books. Here are my top 10 thriller books that I read in 2024. Also, as I'm reviewing this list, I'm realizing almost half of them are thrillers with paranormal elements. I am a spooky girl at heart, so if that's not your vibe, that's totally okay, but if it is your vibe, or if you're looking for some good books to get you into that genre, I've got some good recs. Number 10 is Grey After Dark by Noelle Ihli. This book had me on the edge of my seat and up way too late because I had to know what the outcome was. Grey After Dark by Noelle Ihli is a harrowing tale of a young woman named Miley who is abducted while she is working a summer job at a lodge in the mountains. Her captors hold her at their off-grid, doomsday prepper-style cabin in the wilderness, and she has to keep her wits together in order to survive. Miley finds out that there is another woman who is also being held there who went missing from the same lodge years earlier. This is one of the most stressful books I have ever read, and it's actually inspired by the true story of Carrie Swenson, an Olympic athlete who was abducted while working at a lodge in Big Sky, Montana in the 80s. Like I said, this book will keep you up at night, make you cry, and have you cheering for Miley as she fights for survival. Number 9 is The Spare Room by Andrea Bartz. Here's the thing about me. I love a messy, family drama style thriller, and The Spare Room by Andrea Bartz fits in that category perfectly. Kelly finds herself newly single in her 30s and decides to reconnect with an old friend from school, Sabrina. After they start catching up, Sabrina invites Kelly to get out of her apartment and come and stay at her picture-perfect home for a while. Kelly shows up and she and Sabrina hit it off immediately and things feel just like they used to, and she also hits it off with Sabrina's husband, Nathan. Close proximity and life-shattering events bring the three very close, and Kelly finds herself indulging in a relationship with the both of them. Things are all sexy and hot and heavy until, because don't forget, this is a thriller, she finds out that she isn't the first person that they've invited into their marriage, and she starts feeling like she's kind of a second best replacement for this woman. Things get even worse when she finds out that their ex-partner is missing. Nothing is as it seems in this house, and every answer leads to more questions. This is such a gripping story with just the right amount of messy drama and a little bit of spice. I loved it. I have read a few of Andrea Bartz's books, and I think this is my favorite one so far. Number 8 is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I feel like I've seen a lot of really divided opinions on this one. Middle of the Night by Riley Sager is a paranormal thriller, and I really enjoyed it. I read this one and The House Across the Lake, which is another paranormal thriller from Riley Sager, and this one is way better, by far, way better of those two in that genre, in my opinion. This book is a great summertime popcorn thriller that takes a really interesting look at the cycles of guilt and grief and childhood trauma. Ethan returns to his childhood home after 30 years and finds himself haunted by the events that took place there. While Ethan was a kid, he was having a backyard campout sleepover with his best friend Billy. When he woke up, there was a hole cut in the side of the tent, and Billy was missing. For years, Ethan tried to remember anything helpful about that night to get some answers to help lead to solving the case, but he was just a kid, and he was at a loss for what could have happened to Billy, which left him with terrible guilt. When he goes back home, he realizes that very little has changed in his neighborhood, the neighbors are still mostly the same, and there is still this mystery surrounding Billy's disappearance. Ethan starts feeling like he's being visited by Billy's spirit, and this leads him on a mysterious journey to an institute in the middle of the woods near his house that opens up a bunch of new questions. This is a twisty, turny mystery that has a really great and really satisfying end. Number 7 is The Haunting of Maddy Clare by Simone St. James. I want to read more books about ghost hunters in 1920s England, please! The Haunting of Maddy Clare by Simone St. James follows a girl named Sarah who is working for a temp agency when she is presented with a very unique opportunity. A man named Alastair is a ghost hunter looking for someone to assist him with a specific haunting he has been hired to look into. At first, Sarah doesn't know if she's quite the right fit for the job or if she even believes in ghosts, but she's broke and ready for an adventure, so she decides to go for it. When Alastair and Sarah arrive at the house that needs cleansing, Sarah learns that Mrs. Clare insisted that Alastair have a woman come along because the ghost in their barn, Maddy, doesn't like men. Sarah feels completely out of her depth but begins to fall into this world of ghost hunting and is, of course, trying to uncover the mystery behind Maddy's death. Alastair's unusual assistant, Matthew, shows up, and he adds a new level of curiosity and a little spice to the situation for Sarah. This book is such a great ghost story and murder mystery in one. Number 6 is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I have officially read every novel Riley Sager has ever written, and I think the only one left is my number one favorite. Sitting high on a clifftop is Hope's End, an aptly named mansion with a dark past. In 1929, an entire family was killed, and the sole survivor, 17-year-old Lenora, was blamed. She denied her parts in the murders and then refused to say anything else about that night, and then she never left Hope's End. The kids in the town started singing a Lizzie Borden-style nursery rhyme about Lenora, and the story became this urban legend in the town. Fast forward to 1983, and an in-home care nurse named Kit is hired to work at Hope's End, taking care of Lenora. The previous nurse ran away late one night, never to return, and Kit finds herself caught up in the mystery herself. Lenora decides she's finally ready to tell her side of the story, and it's even more wild than the legends said. This book has a spooky gothic atmosphere that is so easy to get lost in. I absolutely loved it. Number 5, The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. Simone St. James just does the paranormal thriller genre in a way that is outstanding. The Sundown Motel is a rundown roadside stop with a strange background. In 1982, a young woman named Viv was working at the Sundown Motel when she suddenly vanished. Decades later, her niece Carly decides to take it upon herself to go find answers in the mystery that has been somewhat of a family secret her entire life. When Carly starts digging into the Sundown and its past, she learns more than she bargained for, as the saying, "if these walls could talk," becomes very literal. The story unfolds from the past through Viv's eyes and through the present as Carly starts to piece things together. It is so good. I love the dual timelines. I love the whole setup. It's so wonderful. Number 4 is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. Lucy Foley is quickly becoming one of my favorite thriller authors, and The Guest List is such a fun and wild ride. Lucy Foley writes murder mystery thrillers that always have multiple points of view, with characters whose storylines cross over and are messy and full of secrets and plot twists. I love it. One of the things I like so much about Lucy Foley is that while there are plot points that you piece together quickly, especially if you are someone who reads a lot of thrillers like myself, but then she hits you with these extra twists that you don't always see coming. The Guest List takes place on a small island off the coast of Ireland during a wedding weekend. And as with many family gatherings, things get messy in the best way, because we just get to sit back and watch and not have to deal with it ourselves, okay? Of course people are celebrating, but they're overindulging. They're letting their petty insecurities get the best of them, and the secrets from the frat boys' past are coming to the surface. And then, to top it off, someone ends up dead and the finger-pointing begins. No one is safe from suspicion, and things are messier than we could have ever imagined. If you like a family drama popcorn thriller, this one's for you. Number 3 is Ask for Andrea by Noelle Ihli. Like I said, I have fallen in love with paranormal thrillers this year, and Ask for Andrea by Noelle Ihli is a standout for me in this category. This book follows 3 women, Megan, Brescia, and Skye, as they haunt the man responsible for their murders. This book will piss you off and make you cry and have you cheering on our ghostly main characters. The villain in this story essentially targeted these women, turning on the charm and the big cheesy smile, and then revealed his true intentions once he tricked them into feeling comfortable. But as hard as he tried to get rid of them, they stuck around, and now Megan, Brescia, and Skye have found each other as ghosts and are determined to get some justice and maybe some well-deserved revenge. This book has just the right amount of spooky atmosphere without distracting from the plot. It's fast-paced and it's easy to get sucked into. This is a forever favorite for me. I ended up reading 4 total books by Noelle Ihli because of how hard this first one hit me. Number 2 is The Butcher Game by Alaina Urquhart. If you are also a fan of the Morbid podcast, you've definitely heard of this book already. The Butcher Game by Alaina Urquhart is the second book in the Dr. Ren Mueller series, and I would say I actually loved it even more than the first one. Ren Mueller is such a cool main character because she's a medical examiner, and this plays really well into the mystery solving of it all. You'll definitely want to read The Butcher and the Wren before getting into this one so you have the full backstory, but this book follows Wren as she seeks justice after a run-in with a serial killer who happens to be her ex-boyfriend. We get dual points of view for this story between Wren and Jeremy, the villain. Wren is such a lovable character and so easy to root for, and Jeremy is an awful, over-the-top asshole that I love to hate. The atmosphere is spooky, the kills are brutal, and there are moments in this book that will leave you in tears. I loved this book, and I would read 20 more books about Ren Mueller. I loved it. My top read of 2024 was sitting at number 1 since January of 2024, and a year later, I still think about it all the time. None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell is one of my favorite thrillers I've ever read. This book follows 2 women, Alex and Josie, who have a chance meeting while they are both out to dinner for their 45th birthdays. They have a quick chat over how funny it is that they are birthday twins and that they were even born in the same hospital. Aside from sharing a birthday, these 2 women could not be more opposite, and Josie feels that heavily. Josie has found herself in an unhappy marriage with a strained relationship with her daughters and is immediately drawn to Alex, who seems so confident and so put together. Alex hosts a podcast about remarkable women, and Josie decides that it's time for her to become the type of person who could be in Alex's circle. Obviously, this is a thriller, so things quickly go off the rails as we uncover the truths and secrets about each of their lives. This book was so addicting and worked really well for me. I actually listened to it as an audiobook, and it has these elements in it that are like clips from Alex's podcast, so it really puts you into that world. Even without the audio, the podcast transcripts are still such a cool addition to this story. This was a wild ride, popcorn thriller in the best way. I just loved it. I would love to know your top thrillers of 2024 and just your top thrillers in general. Like I said, I need to branch out this year because I only read 7 authors last year in the thriller category, so I'm trying to try some new things, so tell me your recommendations. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more book recs and all things spooky.